How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. We also got to put in the disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor and this isn't financial advice. So just know when you do invest, you're doing it at your own risk. So today we're going to be talking about Ocugen, ticker symbol OCGN, which showed some strength today inside the market despite the fact that we did have a red day. So like I do in all my videos, first let's go over the agenda. If you watch my videos, you already know we also have timestamps down below in the description. So the first thing that we're going to be going over are some of the questions and answers that went down in the earnings call from last week that I want to share with you guys so you're aware of and you're just up to date. We didn't get to cover it in the last video. We just covered more so the high level things, but there's some things that I feel like you guys are going to want to know about. Then after that, we're going to be doing a technical analysis, taking a look at the overall price action that we got today and what we want to see going forward. You want to see, hey, are we going to continue to see price strength from OCGN, especially since the news that we got with covaxin from last week? Hey, I'm just wondering. I want to make sure that you guys have the right strategy going in. Then after, we're going to be taking a look at the institutional ownership and as well as the short interest information. We want to know, are institutions still loading the boat? What is the overall market sentiment in regards to OCGN? And then when all of that is done, I'll be giving you guys my final thoughts. So let's get into it. So let's go over some of the questions that the analysts asked during the earnings call. So we have from Key Nikkei. Okay, yeah, I don't know what happened there, but thanks. They had some technical difficulties going on. So a couple of questions about the vaccine. Shankar, you mentioned some delays due to the activity that's happening in India. Do you have a sense of when you might be able to complete the EUA filing application? So this is the emergency use authorization. So Shankar, who's the CEO of Ocugen, responds and says, Key, as I stated, we are working very hard with our partners at Bharat Biotech and it's taking longer than anticipated. We are planning to still complete the EUA application in the coming weeks. So anyone who's waiting on that emergency use authorization, it's going to be quite a bit of time. When they say in the coming weeks, hey, I'm looking at it like, you know what? It could be either 2 weeks or more. It ain't going to be happening within the first week or within this week. So just getting that heads up and knowing what's happening, this is part of the reasons why if you're in this play, you need to have some patience. So let's continue. So here comes a follow-up question. Key Nikkei, okay, and in your initial discussions with the FDA, what have they said, if anything, about wanting to see vaccine data for US patients before allowing that to move forward? Shankar says, not to date. And I think this was a great question in the sense because, hey, are they going to be testing covaxin on US populations before actually bringing it into the United States and administering it? So I feel this was a great follow-up question that was asked because this can be a concern, but the fact that the FDA hasn't mentioned anything about it just makes it more easier for covaxin to actually penetrate into the US without having to worry about focusing on testing for US populations. Can this occur? Possibly, but it's something that will definitely have an impact on the stock as well. So let's move on to the next one. So Zegbi Jala from Roth Capital Partners. Good morning, guys. Thanks for the update. Just have a couple quick ones for you. I think the first one is just additional info on what's really needed from the folks in India to kind of finalize the EUA application. Like, what data sets are you missing, or what information are you missing and you're waiting for? So the CEO responds, Zegba, as you know, this is a very large clinical trial. And at the conclusion of the interim phase 2, I mean the second interim results from the phase 2 clinical trial, we had put all the data together. It's an enormous amount of effort. And in the middle of the pandemic, obviously, this crisis in India has caused some delays. Also, just as everybody has admitted, there is a large amount of safety database you have to pull together along with efficacy. That's what they're working on. So this is definitely key, and I feel like it's great that he actually put this out there. Yes, we see the efficacy rating, we see how well it's working, but we need to make sure that it's going to be safe. We want to see, hey, what are the risks involved? Now for the follow-up question. Okay, so do you need some safety and then some efficacy data that you're waiting on? And then the follow-up question is regarding the master file. I know submitted it, but I was just wondering when you anticipate getting some feedback from the FDA. And when do you get that feedback? Are you going to communicate it publicly? CEO responds, again, It's normal course of business and FDA communications, depending on if it's a feedback concerning there are more anticipatory questions or clarifications needed. That's the reason we're collaboratively working with the FDA so we can incorporate anything else. Any information, additional information in the EUA. That's the plan. And obviously, we may not be going into all the details. Of course, some of these things should not even be mentioned. Like I said, they're filing a master file in for the application. So that's one of the things that they can't give out too much info, but they still gave out enough information to give some guidance for these analysts. Now, the next question from Robert Laboye. I'm doing well, thanks. My question has to do with the emergency use application and when you expect to hear an answer back from the FDA. If positive, what would that mean in terms of a rollout and how would it fit with the current vaccination programs? CEO responds, yes, again, it will be, we're anticipating it's going to be a similar process to other companies. Like I was talking about in the previous video, I was giving you those dates of when we want to hear some expected news, taking into consideration what happened with Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson. Let's continue. After we file the emergency use authorization application, typically the agency takes 3 to 4 weeks to make a decision and have a meeting with the ACIP. And after that, we will be ready to roll out the vaccine just as the companies have prepared. So they're pretty much just saying, hey, here's the update, here's how long it might take, and here's what the process tends to look like for companies going through a similar process. So that's part of the reasons why if you're in this play, you need to have some patience. And if you are going to be playing off the momentum, you're going to want to do it around when that particular news ends up dropping. So that's what I wanted to share. Let's get into the next segment. So we're going to be doing a technical analysis for Ocugen, ticker symbol OCGN, which ended up closing the day at $10.17, being up 10.72% on the day. On the low, it tested $8.62, and then on the high, testing $10.62. So one thing that we could pay attention to right away, yes, we ended up hitting a low of $8.62, but one thing to understand, we ended up having some strong momentum right off the 200-day right here, where we ended up just having some tremendous growth and going into the close at $10.17. So just from seeing this move alone, OCGN is beginning to look more bullish. Part of the reasons being is it's now riding above the 21-day EMA, and it looks like it's trying to catch up to the 100. If it's able to catch up to the 100-day at $10.74, we could definitely look forward to seeing some strong movements getting to $11. We already know $11 was a previous area of support for OCGN, so I would look forward to some even more uptrend. But again, this is only going to happen with volume. On the day, in regards to volume, we had 117 million, which is really good despite the fact the day that we had in the market, a lot of stocks were red. There was a lot of decreased volume in a lot of stocks that are being traded. But for OCGN, it was quite the opposite. A lot of momentum here. Even if we take a look at the RSI over here, we're still below 50, so it's around 46. So we could see some more buying pressure going into tomorrow, and like I said, catching back to that 100-day. So from what we're seeing consistently from OCGN, it looks like you could definitely make some great opportunities when it bounces off the 200, and this is on the 3-month chart, just to let you guys know. So just seeing this type of price action alone, we know they did the direct offering at $10 as well. It's good to see this type of strength, especially above this $10 area. If it does pull back, then hey, those are more opportunities that you can use, especially if you do believe in the long-term prospects and if you see the upside in the OCGN. So we're now on fintel.io for OCGN, and we're going to take a look at the institutional ownership and as well as the short interest information. So as we scroll down on the page, green rows indicate new positions while red rows indicate closed positions. So one of the things that we could see right away, especially for May the 10th, which is today, we had Graffiti Asset Management going in with 333,000 shares of OCGN. So they're definitely bullish on this stock, and this was actually great to see, and I know that's part of the reasons why a lot of people are definitely turning heads on this one and still seeing the long-term outlook. We take a look at what was going down last week in regards to Friday. As far as positions, there's only 2 that were made. BlackRock going in, making some more adjustments, adding, and we also have Cypress Capital Management going with only like 850. $1.50. But just keeping in mind, for the most part, institutions are remaining bullish. Like I said, keep in mind they did that direct offering at $10, so many institutions will see that it's a good value play if it's under $10 and so forth. If we take a look at the short volume ratio, it stands here at 28%, and this is taken into consideration as of Friday. And as we scroll down on the page, short shares availability stand at 800,000, updated 24 minutes ago, and the short ball free rate, which has been going down, is at 4.22%, which was updated 24 minutes ago. And if we take a look at the short volume ratio history, again, we're used to OCGN being above 21% by now. Definitely a lot of short squeeze potential. That's why I was saying when we have increased volume and a lot of buying pressure, we could see some big moves in the overall stock price. So for my final thoughts for OCGN, we see institutions are loading up, and we also had some strong price action today, despite the fact that the market wasn't the greatest. One thing we need to be aware of, they did do a direct offering not too long ago at $10 per share, and that really does establish the price for this stock, and it's part of the reasons why we're seeing some strong price action. One thing we also need to know, as far as respecting the deadlines and also the times that we were going over in the questions and answers. The CEO is saying, hey, you know what? I'm looking forward to hearing back in the coming weeks. So you're not going to be hearing about it this week. If we do end up getting it earlier than expected, hey, that would be great. But we also want to make sure in regards to that they're going through the process the way they're supposed to go through it. They don't want to rush it. They don't want to have to go back or do any rework. They also got to make sure, as far as safety information is concerned, the FDA has that information so they can examine it. So just taking all of this into consideration, if you're going to be playing swings or off momentum, hey, pay attention to the price action, see what it looks like for this week going forward, because you still have a little bit of time. If you're in this for a long-term investment and you believe in the prospects and so forth, then definitely have some patience. You shouldn't be worried, especially if you believe in Ocugen and they're going to get this deal done and the vaccine is going to be coming out. And that's pretty much what I wanted to put inside this video. Just want to do a little bit something different. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll be talking real soon.